Brain training. At this point, we've covered some pretty heavy topics. We've talked about using nutrition and drugs to change the very way that you think. But what about good old-fashioned brain training? What about the thing that your average reader will likely have thought of first when asked if there was a way to enhance brain function? Brain training is actually big business. You don't need to look far at all to find apps, games, and training that promise to be able to improve your IQ and make you smarter through brain training. Very often, these involve completing strange puzzles, playing unusual games, or performing math. But as it turns out, brain training is something of a sham. That isn't to say that it's not possible or that it can't be useful, but simply that unfortunately it is very often misrepresented and badly thought through. Because here's the thing, when you use brain training such as Nintendo Brain Age or perhaps Lumosity, it turns out that you aren't really boosting your brain power in any tangible or useful way. What you're simply doing is improving your brain's ability to do that one thing. So, if you play a game where you have to pick out a number from a line of numbers, then you are simply improving your ability to pick a number out of a line of numbers. And most of us would agree that this isn't all that helpful or useful. Brain plasticity is at work here. It's just that it isn't really helping with the thing we want it to help with. So how do you go about training your brain more generally? Accidental brain training. The rules of brain plasticity make it very easy for us to work out what impact a certain type of training will have on the brain. And we can actually use an acronym to work this out. SAID. SAID stands for Specific Adaptations to Imposed Demands. This is to say that your brain becomes better at doing the things you make it do regularly. That means that the best form of brain training to become better at focusing on your work is to simply force yourself to focus on your work more. Do this often and over time. You will become better at doing it. Want to become better at math? Then practice more math. There are some tasks, though, that will help you to improve your brain in a much more non-specific way. These involve activities that have changing circumstances but require the same basic skills. And a surprise one? Computer games. Computer games are actually among the very best brain training tools out there. In a moment, we'll see that they can be useful for enhancing brain plasticity, simply because every new game requires you to learn new inputs, new rules, and new environments. But beyond this even, computer games are useful for just encouraging development in several key brain areas because of the skills that they require. Action games, for instance, have been shown to increase our ability to tell different shades of gray, and actually to improve visual acuity. The reason for this is that shooters require us to be constantly looking at the screen for signs of movement. Likewise, these games have been shown to help enhance decision-making and to increase the speed at which decisions are made, without negatively impacting on the quality of those decisions. Again, this comes from the requirement to be constantly making decisions as to which enemy should take priority, which way you should turn, which weapon to use, etc. The difference between something like a computer game or something like a brain training exercise is that a computer game is a much more varied experience, and one that is far more closely relatable to our real-world experiences. Computer games provide realistic context and settings for our actions, and they challenge us in a dynamically shifting manner. Similarly, taking on new challenges at work, reading complex text, and trying to learn new subjects, and putting yourself in social situations that take you out of your comfort zone. All these things will be more effective at increasing your brain power than doing any mundane exercises.